Hey, welcome to the Stylus League ZBrush for iPad videos. Hopefully there's something here that you'll find useful in your journey in learning ZBrush for iPad. So when you first jump into ZBrush for iPad, you're introduced with a really cool new design and UI layout for iPad. You get your welcome screen. Your welcome screen will give you ZBrush updates along with a great and fast way to getting to ZBrush Central, where you can see a lot of cool artwork that's trending on ZBrush Central. When you open up My Sculpts, you'll get into the library of sculpts that you've worked on. You have all sculpts. You can filter by Z tools, projects, and quick saves. Super cool. From the home screen, if you press New Sculpt, you're able to get into the primitives Z-Sphere library, which is really nice, and 3D meshes. From the 3D mesh section, we're going to open up a Dynamesh. And I am happy to report that ZBrush for iPad feels like ZBrush for desktop, so that is a super great thing for those who are familiar with ZBrush. And if you're just jumping into sculpting, they made a really cool UI that simplifies a lot of the complexity that's on the desktop. And for those who are used to desktop, it'll only help you navigate through the way they have things laid out on iPad. So it's a win-win for everyone. Good job, Maxon. So I'm going to do my best to cover all the items of the app from left to right, and let's get into it. So on the left side, you'll start with your brushes. You can, like desktop ZBrush, you have all your brushes listed here. You can jump to them by alphabetical order. You can even mark some brushes as your favorite. You would select them and then click this heart icon. If you go to favorites, you'll see all the ones that I bookmarked as my favorite. Pretty cool. And also, they managed to group the brushes by descriptions. User brushes, there are brushes that I've imported myself. Shout out to Geo. And shout out to Pablo for making the Geo brush. We got our clay, cloth, groom, yes, this fiber mesh here, hard surface, sculpting brushes, knives, so on and so forth. So the whole toolkit is here. If we go to our stroke palette, you'll have all your standard stroke alphas. They're all here. We have our alphas here for our brushes. You're able to import textures as well. And we have our matte cap. And just like the brush system, we have all of our matte caps listed here. We have user matte caps. If you wanted to import either a brush or a matte cap, that's pretty straightforward as well. If we go to import, I will import a brush. I'm gonna go to select, and I will import this J Hill standard brush that I have. Import. Now that's there. And if I go to users with the heart available, I'll select the heart and it'll show up in my recents, and it'll also show in my user brushes. We have our color picker. Continue on to the lower half. We have, here's where we can apply our matte caps, RGB, mRGB. This is our focal shift. This is our brush size. Your Z intensity and Z sub are also listed here. This is your intensity. sub, add our undo functions. We also have the puck system that they've introduced here. So I currently have it set to Windows shortcuts, but if you want to change it to something else, UI, you could change it to Mac shortcuts, custom Maxon ZBrush for iPad new logos, or you can change it to Windows keys. I like to use the Windows keys. Now, before I go over the items on the right-hand side, let's get into some navigation. So, navigation is pretty intuitive. I'm gonna make a mark here so we can know which way we're spinning around. So, I'm using my index finger and I am just tapping on the screen and I'm rotating around. The pivot is set to wherever I am pointing. It's awesome. This key here is the F function that you would use on desktop to focus on your model. And I'm going to use that to reset the scene as we continue on navigation. Currently, I have finger sculpting turned off, so I will not mark on my model as I'm rotating around because I've turned that off. There's pinch to zoom. Straightforward. To customize your navigation in input settings, if you select the gear icon, go to navigation. Here's where you can change your center navigation on pinch, allow roll gesture, and your speed. Your input, you can change how that is actually configured. Currently, for my pencil, I have double tap for undo and squeeze to redo. And because I'm taking advantage of the new M4 iPad, I'm able to set those hotkeys up. So now when I double tap my pencil, I'll start to undo. If I squeeze, so squeeze, double tap, just like that. You go back there. I set my 2-finger tap to go to low res, and I've set my 3-finger tap to go to high res. A 4-finger tap I've set to go to solo. So that's how I set mine up. You can change yours to be different, but if your pencil settings are up top, your palm rejection is set here, touch navigation, your strength of touch navigation is set here, and here's where you can change your finger gestures under input. And on the right-hand panel, we have our tool palette. Our tool palette is what you would see normally inside of ZBrush Desktop, but in a cleaner, newer UI. Subtool has everything that you would see in the subtool palette. You can also have all your different visibilities like we would normally have. Merge, transpose. And that's what's really great about ZBrush for iPad, that knowledge that we have over the years that we've dedicated to ZBrush for desktop. It's easily transferable to what we have on iPad. You can undock and make this floating panel like this. If we click here, we'll minimize it. If we click here, we'll close it. We can float it around. I'm going to open the tool palette again. Geometry, right? And if, let's say we can add a palette. Let's say I want to add my brush palette. This will have all your brush settings. I'm going to add another palette. Let's see if we want to add, let's go with draw. Right, we have brush size and so on and so forth. Right, and we also have our traditional M, RGB, mRGB, right? And if I click here, and if I want to close a palette, I can delete the palette, dock it off, close it, and it can float around. Controls would be the same thing that you're accustomed to. If I'm holding Alt and I have the alternate function of a brush, I'm carving in, Shift to smooth, mask, and spacebar will give you the new ZBrush submenu. Now, as we continue on the right-hand side, our perspective, floor, turning off symmetry, double tap to undo, 3 taps to redo. I have it on my M4 iPad. I'm going to squeeze to undo, and then I can double tap my pen to redo. So I have undo and redo on my pen functions. Focus on your model. We have our wireframe, and we can solo out if need be. This is solo and this is transparent. Okay. Now on to the cool stuff that we have at the bottom, our new brush dock. And what Maxon has done is that all the functions that we would normally have to either we may have a hotkey for or we would have to dig for, they put it right on the panel at the bottom. You have your gizmo tool here. We can turn on Sculptures Pro if we wanted to. You can switch back, turn that off. This is Dynamesh here. I'm going to turn Dynamesh back on. Z-Remesher. Super nice. Turn this back to Dynamesh. Wireframe off. And this is your subdivision levels. If you had a tool that had subdivision that they put right on the dock for you. Now, you may be asking, well, where can I put my custom brushes? They have that for you as well. You're able to add custom brushes below. And here's how we can start to customize this UI a little bit. And I'm just sliding across the bottom. We go to the customization window. This will allow you to customize your UI, customize your settings. So, for example, I want to add clay tubes to this bottom bar here. I'm selecting on this bar and I'm going to hit add, and it marks it there. Let's say I want to add another brush. What's another brush I would normally use? Let's say I want H polish. I think H polish is already an option. See, they already have H polish as an option. They think of everything. Let's say I want to add the IMM primitives. That's added to my bar. You can also customize so this sub menu here, you can customize that as well. These are some of my settings that I customized, and you do that in the same section, except you go to quick menu, and inside of quick menu you can just go in and just dig for things that you would normally use in your normal workflow, your personal workflow. So if you want reconstruct sub div, which I already have, for giggles, right? So if I wanted to move this off, I bring it to the trash can and it moves it off. I'm going to add it back. Right, and you just go in, customize it to your liking. I will tell you, Maxon has done a fantastic job with putting the feel and look, new looks. We're gonna call this new look, new look ZBrush. I can't wait till they put some of these features on desktop. I think it's gonna be awesome. So I made it where I absolutely cannot sculpt or accidentally sculpt on my model. Everything, every pin mark or every sculpt will always be from my pencil. So let's see what it looks like. Let's see where we can actually really put some polygons in this model or in this software to see what it's like. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna load up a model that has a little bit more geometry so we can see what this app can handle. So there's a model I did for beta test where I sculpted 90% of him. I sculpted on desktop. There are some things that I needed the crease and be able to crease inside of the ZBrush for iPad is not there yet. So ZModeler will not be here for launch, but I've been told that it will definitely be in the near future where we'll have it inside of iPad. So I have a few subdivisions on this guy. So just like we would normally do on inside of desktop, I'm gonna hit Alt and then I'm gonna click and I'll be able to jump to his body. This model has a total of 64 million polys. So because I have my undo and redo on my pen, the standard functions for undoing and redoing is double tap to undo and triple tap to redo. I want to go up and down subdivisions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 2-finger tap. I'm going to go to low res. 3-finger tap. I'm going to go to high res. Let's try that out. So 2-finger, low res, 3 fingers. And also, if you recall, here, we should have our subdivisions here. And we can go up and down like that. Cool. So as you can see, like I'm moving around. This model was actually sculpted on my M1 iPad. And I was able to get through that whole process and get this model in here and sculpt on it. So things are only have gotten a little better since moving on to my M4. But as you can see, no problem. So like we were showing before, you can solo out objects. If I wanted to his belt. With his belt. So what you can see here, you can see that the creasing that I did with desktop still exists inside the iPad. So if there was a model that you were working on that had creasing or hard surface stuff, and you still wanted to work on it on an iPad, you will still retain your creasing information. And later on, I'll demonstrate how we can use the new Go Z to iPad functionality that's built in, which is super cool. So again, we have our palette here. If we wanted to look through the tools for this guy. We can turn off our poly paint, turn on our poly paint. Super cool. So let's see what else this thing could do. No, I'm not going to save my changes. There's another model that I'm working on. So this is perfect. This is a model that I've been working on my desktop, and all the materials are all messed up. So this is a perfect time to demonstrate how we can fill our materials correctly. So I'm going to start with his head. As you can see, this character has 33 million polys, this entire model that I currently have here. So I'm going to pick my favorite skin shade tool. Nice. So what we're going to do, I'm going to make sure I only have M for material set to fill this object, and then I'm going to go over here. I'm gonna hit fill object. Bam. Was able to fix that. And this happens because the materials that I currently have on the desktop are not properly assigned on the iPad. So this is really a super quick and easy fix. So again, how we did that, I'm gonna go over to his body. Got his body here. And because I don't want to get rid of the poly paint, I just want to fill this guy so I can get rid of this matte cat shading that has been automatically assigned. I'm gonna go here to our matte caps. I'm gonna go to all. The matte cap that I want is not here, so I'm gonna go to import, materials, select, import. Now I'm going to make sure this is set to M still. It is. Fill object. And that's pretty cool on so yeah. And our gizmo stuff is here, so like this. We can go to our little subdivision on this one. Right, and we still have all the same. If I want to go to gizmo, still got scale, everything that we're accustomed to is there. Got your deformers. They're still here. Nice. Yeah, Maxon, you made a very great and amazing tool, and I look forward to sculpting and doing more videos on ZBrush for iPad. It's a very responsive tool. So before we close out this video, I just want to go over selection and poly grouping and how it's done in ZBrush for iPad. So if you wanted to make a selection, you would hold Control and Shift and drag, just like you would do for desktop. If I wanted to polygroup what was there, I can just go to my quick menu, and on my quick menu, I put a shortcut for group visible. If I keep doing that, I can mask my polygroups. Control and Shift and click to reveal what's there. If I wanted to mask, I'm holding Control and I'm going to drag. And if I wanted to group by mask, I have it on my shortcut menu. It's really awesome. If I want to change my selection tool, if I go to brush, I'm going to press S for selection. I'm going to go to lasso and I'm going to hit OK. Now, if I hit Control and Shift, lasso. Now, if I hit Control, Shift, lasso, I'm going to remove my finger off of Control and I'm going to hit Alt. I can then reverse the selection. If I wanted to group that, I can go over to my group visible that I put on my quick menu. Great. If I hit Control, if I paint on here, I'll be able to get my masking that way, and then I can also group by mask as well. Group mask. Super nice. Squeeze to undo that. Yeah. So if I go to the brush menu, I go to mask and then mask lasso. Hit OK. Now I can mask back lasso, then I can group mask. Now I have all my masks. If I want to clear mask, just clear it out that way. So, like I said earlier, the app feels just like ZBrush. You will feel right at home. What's also great is that the knowledge that you've gathered through the years, you'll be able to transfer over to ZBrush for iPad. And what's also cool is that it's intuitive enough for someone who's just getting into ZBrush or sculpting. The tools are easy to understand, and they can also rely on the breadth of tutorials that are out there teaching people ZBrush that they can now apply to the desktop app. So thank you again for tuning in and listening to the Stylus League and our first look at ZBrush for iPad, and we look forward to creating additional content around the app and on our live streams in the future. Have a good one. Peace.